We interrupt today's regularly scheduled Friday Reads video in order to do my September reading wrap-up because, unbelievably, it is October 2nd, which is crazy, but also fantastic because I love fall. Hey guys, it is Samantha. I hope you guys had a really great week. Today is Friday. Hopefully, I will get this video edited and uploaded on a Friday. We shall see. But either way, I hope you guys had a wonderful week, and I hope you guys had a great September. As I said in the intro, it is crazy because it is finally October, which is just a whoa, where did this year go? Like, whoa. But I'm okay with it because we are entering my favorite time of the year. Time for all the holidays, Halloween, if you're in the US, Thanksgiving, and Christmas and New Year's, and I just am so excited. My favorite time of the year. Perfect, guys. It's perfect. But that has nothing to do with today's video. Today I'm here to tell you guys what I read in September and what I thought of those books and give you guys some of the statistics from my reading month of September. So let us get started, shall we? So I ended up reading a total of 5 books in the month of September, which I was pretty happy with. I am perfectly okay with reading 1, let alone 5, and some of them were quite chunky, so I'm quite pleased with myself. I ended up reading a grand total of 2,793 pages because some of them were quite chunky. This averages to about 93 pages a day. Of the 5 books that I read, 1 was hardback, 2 were trade paperback, and 2 were mass market paperbacks. In terms of author gender, it was split between 2 male and 2 female. In terms of years published, all of the books are published from 2000 and later. And in terms of overall star rating, I ended up giving 3 of them 4 stars and 2 of them 3 stars. So a pretty good reading month overall. In terms of page count, 1 was between 400 and 499 pages, and 3 of them were between 500 and 599 pages, and 1 of them was 600 to 699 pages. This year I've also read a grand total of 68 books, so I am closing in on my overall year goal of 100 books. I have no idea if I'll make it at this point, and even if I don't, I'm perfectly okay with that. Alright guys, those were some of the general statistics from my reading month of September, and now I'll get into the more specifics of what the books were and what I thought of them, so let's get started. So the first book that I finished in the month of September was House of Hades by Rick Riordan. This is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series. Again, I can't give too much away about this book because it will spoil you a lot if you have not read the series, but basically the adventure continues with all of our Greek heroes, and it was just as fantastic as the other ones. It's not my favorite in the series, but it also wasn't my least favorite, and I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars. I think so far The Mark of Athena remains my favorite, but this one was still a lot of fun. Even if it did drag a little bit in some places, I still enjoyed it overall. I also ended up listening to it half on audio, half reading, and it was really enjoyable. I really recommend the audiobooks for the Heroes of Olympus series. But again, I ended up rating it 4 out of 5 stars, and I cannot wait to finish up the series of Blood of Olympus. The next book that I finished in September was Malice by John Gwynne. This is an adult epic fantasy novel. It follows an array of characters kind of similar to George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones. It's structured in the same way, so chapters will alternate between characters. This world that this takes place in is very much Celtic based. It reminded me a lot of Celtic customs and histories and things like that, but it is basically a bunch of kingdoms that are ruled by one high king. This world is also entering a era of tumultuous times. Basically, the harbingers of the God War, these signs have started to occur, and there is going to be the one shining star that is going to be the hero of the people and somebody opposite him, like this dark anti-hero. Together they will fight on behalf of the gods and the world will erupt into chaos. So it's basically just setting up the pieces for this chaos, this war to take place. So you're introduced to all of the characters. There is about 4 to 5 different characters that you follow in this series. You're introduced to the various characters and the different roles that they're going to play in this world and in this war itself. Overall, it was okay. It was an okay fantasy book for me. I ended up rating it 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the best fantasy I read. I found I was losing interest a lot of the time when I wasn't reading. It was one of those books where when I wasn't reading it, I didn't have an interest in picking it back up. But while I was reading it, I found it to be interesting. So it was kind of a weird book. I do want to continue on with Valor, I believe is the next book in the series because this is a trilogy. It did leave me intrigued enough to continue on. I didn't think the writing was the best. It felt a little bit tropey to me. There was definitely a lot of fantasy tropes, which usually I'm okay with, but the writing left a little bit to be desired. It just seemed very simple. A lot of the conversations felt very forced. They didn't feel natural. All of the characters felt a little bit the same. to a certain degree that lacked a little bit of personality. So it wasn't my favorite book. It also wasn't the worst one I've read, and it left me intrigued enough to continue on. As I said, I ended up rating it 3 out of 5 stars. The next 2 books I read should come as no surprise if you guys have been following my channel all year long. Yes, it's Robin Hobb. The first one was Dragon Keeper by Robin Hobb. It is the first book in the Rain Wilds Chronicles. The Rain Wilds Chronicles is the 4th of her series. This one is actually a 4-book series, not a trilogy, although it was originally supposed to be a duology, but the publisher had him split them into 4 books, but that's for another video. This book series takes place in the Rain Wilds, which is the lands that the Live Ship Traders books took place in, and it takes place shortly after the end of the Tawny Man trilogy, and it follows what happens to the baby dragons that you learn about in the other books. I can't give too much away without spoiling you for the rest of the series, because this series will literally spoil you with everything that occurred in the first 3 trilogies. So definitely not the series you want to start out on, because you'll be spoiled for everything that has occurred in any Robin Hobb book ever. So just fair warning. I do actually have a video I recently put up, which is an author highlights video where I talk to you about Robin Hobb, her books, where to start, her writing style, and things like that. And I'll link it down below if you guys are curious about where to start. So this series overall is not my favorite by her. I did still enjoy it. I think I said it in a couple of videos that Robin Hobb could write about butter, and I would still read it. That is how much I really enjoy her handwriting. That's how much you enjoy her handwriting. Wow. No. It wasn't my favorite series by her. It did drag in some places. It was probably the slowest and the least interesting of her series so far. I didn't feel as invested with these characters as I did in her other series, but it was still enjoyable, and it definitely picks up towards the latter half of the book, and I ended up rating this one 3 out of 5 stars. The next one I finished is the other Robin Hobb book, and it is book 2 in the Rain Wilds Chronicles. This is Dragon Haven. I ended up liking this one a lot more. Again, I can't go too much into it because it will spoil you for a lot of the events that take place, but it was a lot better. A lot more happens in this book. We get a lot more into the characters, and I definitely became more invested in the characters and their stories in this book. Also, another thing I wanted to mention with this series is that if you are curious about fantasy books that have LGBT characters, this book series does in fact have those. So there is that. I wanted to make a note of that for those of you who are interested, because I have had some people ask me. This one, as I said, was a lot better than the first one, and I really ended up enjoying it, and I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars, and I can't wait to finish off this series. The last book I finished in the month of September was one that's been on my TBR probably the longest, and I've been meaning to read for like a year and a half, and that was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I actually really ended up enjoying this book a lot more than I thought I would. I don't read a lot of contemporary. If you follow my channel regularly, then you will know this, but I decided to pick it up because I keep hearing people talk about how good it is, and I felt like it was a topic that would kind of appeal to me, that I could relate to. I ended up really enjoying it. I was pleasantly surprised. It follows our main character, Kath. Kath is a twin sister, and her twin sister head off to their first year of college. Her sister, Ren, kind of wants to go off and do her own thing and experience the college life, while Kath is definitely an introvert, and all she wants to do is write fan fiction for Simon Snow, which is basically this world's Harry Potter. So that's all she wants to do. She kind of wants to do her own thing, go to class, and just write her fan fiction. But she kind of ends up having to get out of her bubble a little bit more. She ends up meeting a guy, and like other things like this happen. But I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was pretty real and realistic. I really liked the dynamic between Kath and her sister Ren. I think that the family dynamic was handled really well, and I really liked Kath as a character. She's definitely a relatable character for me because she was very much introverted and awkward, and some of the things that she was afraid of were things that I had anxiety about when I was at college, and things just like not knowing where to buy food and like not wanting to go because I feel like you're being watched, like just things like that that you get shy and awkward about. That's how she was, and so I really related to that, and I thought that was quite interesting. I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know if I'll read any more Rainbow Rowell books. I don't read a lot of contemporary, and aside from this one, I'm not too much in the mood right now, but I definitely would recommend checking out Fangirl if you are hesitant yourself. Definitely a fun book. It's just a lot of fun. It will make you happy, put a smile on your face. It was a really quick read. I read it in a couple of days, and I just thought it was really good. The only part about it I didn't really much care for was the ending. I felt like the ending was a little bit abrupt, and it didn't wrap up quite everything that I wanted to know about the story. But other than that, I thought it was pretty enjoyable, and again, I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Alright guys, that is it for my September wrap-up, and now I will tell you guys some of the books that I'm planning on reading in October. I have a pretty good idea of the books that I want to read in October, and I'm sure, as always, a couple of books will sneak in throughout the month that I just feel like reading that won't be in this video, but that's okay. That's why my TBRs are flexible. First 2 books that I'm reading in October are actually ones that I started in September but have not finished yet. The first one is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is actually a reread for me. I've read this many times, but it has been many years since I have reread it, and I want to reread this in the trilogy before the end of the year. So I picked up The Hobbit this month. I'm about halfway through, through. I'm really, really enjoying it. I forgot how much I miss this world and how much I love this book, and it's just been really nice to be back in Middle-earth. The other book that I am currently reading is Changeless by Gail Carriger. I am currently reading this as a Better Read with Beck Zen book, so I'll link down below, and you guys should check out because she's fantastic. And we are basically just reading about a chapter a day, so we're taking this slow, and I'm sure it'll be stretched out over the course of the month. This is the second book in the Parasol Protectorate series by Gail Carriger. I read the first book, Soulless, back in January and really enjoyed it. It's kind of a paranormal, urban fantasy, steampunk novel. It's pretty funny. Really like Alexia Terabati, very strong female character that just is totally kick-ass and a smart-ass, and I absolutely love it. So I'm really enjoying being back in this world. The next book I am planning on reading in October is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Seth Grahame-Smith. I've been wanting to read this one for a very long time, and I figured that October would be a perfect time to pick it up because zombies, Halloween, seemed very fitting, and I've heard it's quite funny. I also wanted to pick it up because it's coming out as a movie next year starring Matt Smith as Reverend Collins, which I anticipate being quite hilarious, so can't wait to see how I like this bad boy. The next two books I'm intending to read should come as no surprise, really, guys. You should just expect a Robin Hobb book in my videos from now on. And that, of course, is books 3 and 4 of the Rain Wilds Chronicles, City of Dragons and Blood of Dragons. I am going to be starting this up, I believe, next Friday. I've been buddy reading these with a group of people all year, and we are deciding to pick them up on Friday the 9th, so that should be happening soon, and I can't wait to get back into Robin Hobb's world because I just love being there. So fantastic, guys. The next book I want to pick up is a classic and a Halloween classic, and that is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I got this a few months ago, and I was waiting for October to happen because I felt like a very good Halloween read. I haven't read it yet, and I cannot wait to read it because I've heard it's quite entertaining, and really, it's high time I've read the original story. It needs to happen. The next book is another buddy read. I'm reading this one with Michael from Bitten by a Radioactive Book, and that is A Contrary Tale of the Butterfly Girl by Ishbel B. I read the first book in this series, The Extraordinary Tale of Mir and Goliath, a couple months ago, and I really, really enjoyed it, and Michael also read it and enjoyed it, so we decided to pick up book 2 this month. Again, I think it'll be a good Halloween read as it kind of has a creepy Neil Gaiman-esque tone to the book. It's another urban fantasy, takes place in Victorian London, and I just really, really enjoy it. It's just, I don't know, she has a really unique way of telling the story. It's kind of vaguely creepy and entertaining at the same time. And the next book I am picking up this month is, of course, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Again, this is another reread, but I want to read this trilogy before the end of the year. I doubt I will finish this month, but I definitely want to start it, and I can't wait because this is my favorite in the trilogy. And the last book I have to mention, which I just forgot about because I have actually started it, and it is an ebook, and it is The Thief Who Pulled on Trouble's Braids. I actually recently purchased this one, and I decided to kind of start it on a whim. It's not very big. It's like 230 pages, and so far I'm actually really enjoying it. I really like his writing so far. I'm finding it really entertaining. I think the story is interesting, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go. Alright guys, that is it for my September wrap-up and October TBR. You'll have to let me know what your favorite book is from the month of September and what your most anticipated read is for October. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great month, and until next time, happy reading. Bye!